In this video, I want to look at our outside cuts layer and programming the final cutting out of these shapes. I'll start by right-clicking, selecting those objects, and I'm going to come to Machining Operations, 2-axis, and once again this is going to be a profiling pass. And in this case, I'm just cutting on the outside of these parts, and I want to cut as quickly as possible. So I'm going to use my 1/2" flat down cut for plywood. So we have 1/2" or 3/8. The half should cut a bit faster. We may opt to use a 3/8 cutter only if we're spacing a lot of parts close together. The 3/8 cutter may be sort of a balance of how many parts we can fit on the sheet versus how fast we could cut them. So usually for cutouts in 3/4" plywood, we'd be looking at either the 1/2" or the 3/8 cutter for cutting those parts out. I'm going to use a 1/2". This will be, I think, our 4th tool. So I want to go in and change my tool number to 4. I'm going to save edits, click OK, click OK. Moving over to feeds and speeds, I'll click load from tool. The clearance plane stays the same. Just like in the last, the inside profiling, inside cuts, we want to go down here and use inside outside, and in this case we're going to be on the outside. The next tab is cut levels. Once again we'll pick top 0.75. Once again we'll set the total depth to be a little bit beyond that. And down here in the depth per cut, now we're using a 1/2" tool, so we can cut up to 0.25 at a time. Under entry exit, we're going to do a long path, and we're going to change our path height now to match 0.25, the height of each cut level. We want none for the exit motion, and down here we'll click apply entry exit at each level. Right now I'm not going to worry about the adding bridges or sorting. Let's just generate and we'll look and see what result we're getting. So that looks pretty good. These, you'll notice if I go into top view that these lines are pretty far apart, so there is some space in between these. And so whether or not we add tabs to this is all dependent on whether or not we think these would shift around. These part sizes are 5.5 by 12. It's sort of hard to say whether the vacuum would hold those down. What I would probably, to be safe, I might add a couple small tabs. So I may come back in here and, just like with the last one, do just a very small, in this case like a 1/16" high by maybe 1/2" long tab, and try just 2 of them. And so now you'll see that it's putting tabs on each side, and those would be pretty quick to just chisel off at the end of the file, and that would save us having to stop the job if parts were coming loose. One other thing you can see is that our entry-exit motions are sort of come from opposite sides. So in one case, so the machine's sort of going around this object in both directions. If we wanted to keep a continuous direction, if we double-click the profiling, we can set the cut direction. In this case, if you look at our tool, we're using a flat down cut tool. So if we set the cut direction to climb for down cutting tools, and then generate, you'll see that the tool keeps going in the same direction. It's not totally necessary, but sometimes going in one direction can provide a nicer edge finish on the edge of our parts where the tool is cutting always in the same direction. So that's the outside profiling. We'll pick up with some other tips and tricks, and also running a simulation of the program in the next video. Thanks.